Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to speak English. My Greek is certainly not up to standard. Always feels a bit embarrassing to oblige a whole room of people from the same nationality to hear to a different language. I'm very pleased to open, together with others, this Congress on Environment and Public Procurement, and I would like to thank the organizers, the union members of the Greek Legal Council of State and the Greek Independent Single Public Procurement Authority for this invitation. I can only support the goal of this conference to link the two goals, public procurement and green, which, if well linked, can enhance smart and sustainable growth, and they contribute to a more competitive, future-oriented and green industrial policy. But first about Greece. Greece is currently undertaking an ambitious reform of its public procurement system with a view to rendering it more modern and efficient. Such reform includes the simplification, consolidation and codification of the Greek public procurement rules, first. Second, the reform of the Greek institutional framework involving public procurement by restructuring the institutional setup and establishing the Single Public Procurement Authority as independent authority supervising the entire functioning of the Greek public procurement system. Increase of transparency by the use of electronic procurement, and the rationalization of public expenditure and introducing modern practices such as central purchasing and framework contracts. Our services, the European Commission and the Greek authorities, closely cooperate to pursue the above objectives and provide support and technical assistance to the attainment of the same. The reform of the Greek public procurement system is ongoing. It goes beyond any doubt that the progress so far is good due to the hard efforts of the Greek authorities. We now see the first results of this very demanding and difficult exercise. The Greek authorities recently enacted a primary law which simplifies and consolidates the Greek public procurement rules. An electronic procurement platform exists and will be soon fully operational. The SPPA has been established and successfully performs its duties. The transposition of the new EU directives, the use of a modern and efficient central purchasing scheme, and the reform of the remedy systems are some of the remaining challenges. You Greeks, need to see this challenge as a great opportunity in our view, not only to reform the mechanics of the public procurement system, but also the philosophy and the objective of the system. Greece should use this challenge as an opportunity to go beyond the tip of the iceberg and work in order to create a model public procurement system which could be an example of good governance in Europe. I'm confident that Greece can achieve this challenge, but this requires persistence, insistence, and passion to change. I would also like to welcome the initiative of the Single Public Procurement Authority to prepare a national strategy on public procurement for Greece. It is likely to include objectives relating to green procurement, an objective which we encourage. I'm sure that the discussions and conclusions of this conference on green public procurement will be of great help to design this strategy. Sometimes there seems to be a tendency to see green and public procurement business as two different things. Some people think that green public procurement is too expensive and something only for daydreamers and do-gooders. I believe that the opposite is the case. Green public procurement, if done in a good and non-discriminatory way, is smart, it's intelligent, and it's value for money oriented public procurement. If well done, it contributes to innovation, to growth, and to cost reductions. As the agenda of this conference shows, green public procurement covers all aspects of the procurement cycle, from defining needs and selection criteria over the award up to the execution of the contract. Before opening up the conference to a wide range of speakers and panelists to lively discuss these interesting topics, I would like to tell you what we do in this respect. What does the European Commission, and more specifically my Directorate for Public Procurement, do in the area of green public procurement and for the public sector in Greece? Green public procurement is not a new subject for the EU. It's been defined in the 2008 Commission communication, Public Procurement for a Better Environment, as, I quote, a process whereby public authorities seek to procure goods, services, and works with a reduced environmental impact throughout their life cycle when compared to goods, services, and works with the same primary function that would otherwise be procured. Green public procurement is a voluntary instrument. This means that member states and public authorities can decide how much they want to use this instrument. And it is true that some member states use it more and some use it less. Public authorities are major consumers in Europe. Public procurement is hugely important. It amounts to 2 trillion euros annually in the European Union, and it's equivalent to 19% of the EU's gross domestic product. By using purchasing power, contracting authorities can make an important contribution to sustainable consumption and production. Green purchasing is also about influencing the market. By promoting and using green public procurement, public authorities can provide industry with real incentives for developing green technologies and products. In some sectors, public purchases command a large share of the market, such as public transport and construction, health services, waste, and so there, your decisions have a considerable impact. In 2011, the Commission published the latest version of its handbook on green public procurement called Buying Green. It is a concrete tool, this handbook, to help public authorities to buy goods and services with a lower environmental impact, and it has a useful reference for policymakers and businesses responding to green tenders. I can therefore only recommend to all of you participating in this conference. There you can find guidance on how environmental considerations can be included at each stage of the procurement process. It's always better to talk of examples. There are examples of how other contracting authorities in all EU member states do it, and how it is done in specific sectors like building, food and catering services, electricity and timber. As you all know, this year EU public procurement legislation underwent a major reform, including mandatory electronic procurement and, for the first time, a balanced and flexible legislation for the award of concessions. With this package, as far as green procurement, we have provided for an enabling approach to different ways of procuring. It is thus up to you, the individual member states and the individual contracting authorities, to take advantage of the new possibilities which the law has put at your disposal. What are these possibilities in terms of strategic green use of public procurement? First, there is a horizontal clause on the respective environmental requirements. The use of environmental labels, second, has been made easier. Third, the relevance of the whole production process is now clearly stated. Fourth, a life cycle costing approach is promoted. And there is a new procedure called innovation partnership that can be used to find particularly environmentally friendly solutions that are not in the market yet. But let me just make a remark here. It is important for all these possibilities, for this enabling approach to be used, training and development of the professional capacity of the public sector are of the essence for these possibilities not to remain dead letter. Just very briefly what these possibilities mean in practice. The horizontal clause. If an enterprise does not respect environmental obligations, it can be excluded from the tender procedure. If the price of its offer is abnormally low because of the lack of respect of environmental obligations, it must be excluded. What about labels? Public purchasers can require eco-labels if they are objectively established. All their requirements are actually linked to the purchase, and, this is an important anywhere in public procurement, equivalent proof is accepted. Production process. Factors of production process do not have to form part of the material substance of the product. Things like the use of energy-efficient machines and non-toxic substances, fair trade, or sustainable timber origin. Such requirements are now explicitly allowed wherever the production process takes place. Life cycle costing, what does this mean? It means that you can calculate all costs, internal costs, including research and development, energy consumption, and end-of-life disposal, as well as externalities like greenhouse gas emissions or pollution, if they can be measured, and a price be attributed to them. So often when you have this conflict between lowest price or environmentally friendly price, you actually do not have that much of a conflict, because by buying environmentally, basically, on the long run, society will pay less than by paying optically cheap. And this aspect has to be internalized, in my view. On innovation partnership, this new procedure aims at the development of an innovative product, service, or works and its subsequent purchase. The criteria are defined and the competition takes place at the beginning before the development. All this is positive and entails many opportunities. Still, you should not confuse buying green with buying local. And wherever you opt for a green procurement, the basic principles of public procurement, non-discrimination and transparency must be respected. i.e., what this means is that if a green product from Poland has to be treated in the same way as a green product from Greece, Portugal, Ireland, i.e. there cannot be local or national discriminations because of the green criteria. A member state might wish to go beyond environmental standards that are harmonized at EU level. A member state can only do this relating to persons, goods and services originating in another member state if it is justified by provisions of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I simply invite all players in public procurement to make good, skillful use of the new possibilities of the new public procurement directives for the environment, for innovation, and for Greece. And finally, thanks again for having invited me here. Thanks to Mr. Raikus for having had the kindness to bring me here.